Holding all lines will be on listen only until the question and answer portion of today's conference. I'd now like to turn the call over to Jeff Nelson. Thank you. You may begin.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Welcome to our weekly teleconference with Coach O'Brien. And we'll start our questions today with Rich Scarcella and Reading. Rich, go ahead.
Thanks, Jeff. So can you give us an update on the status of Jordan Hill and Kyle Parkinson this week?
Both those guys, Rich, are day to day. You know, they come in every day for treatment, and then we take a look at them in the training room, in the weight room, out on the field, and really that'll be a later in the week decision whether they can play or not.
Bob Flowers in Harrisburg.
Do you see the differences and the similarities between Taylor Martinez, the Nebraska quarterback, and Braxton Miller of Ohio State?
That's a good question. Yeah, there's obviously some similarities there, and there's some differences. I believe that both guys are tremendous athletes. They both have excellent speed. I believe that both of those guys have really worked on their throwing mechanics and improved throwing the football. Taylor Martinez has done an excellent job. I think he's completing close to like 65% of his passes. I mean, this guy's an accurate guy. He can run, and they have great command of their offenses. You know, so they know they're coached very well. They know exactly what they want to do, how they want to attack things, and it's obviously with both guys, it's a huge challenge for any defense.
Derek Larson, Wilkes-Barre.
So how do you think your depth overall on the team has developed this year, especially now that you have guys like Jesse James, Mosby Felder, James Terry in line to play some bigger roles for you?
Sure, these guys have stepped up. If you look at every position, if you start on offense and you look at the offensive line, we played a lot of guys on the offensive line last game, and throughout the year we've tried to do that. Ty Howell's played, Angelo Mangiro's played, Shrives played. Look at the running back position. I mean, you guys know as well as I do. We've played a lot of guys there. We've played guys at receiver. Obviously, Felder's come along there. Zenolato had a catch last game. Trevor Williams done a good job there. Alex Kenny, Evan Lewis has seen time. You look at the tight ends. You just mentioned Jesse James. All those guys have done a nice job of stepping up when we've asked them to do that. I think for the most part. You look at the defensive team, and you look at the defensive line. I believe we do a really good job of rotating guys in there, keeping guys fresh. And you mentioned James Terry, Kyle Boblitz has played, and a number of guys. Pete Massaro's played. I mean, we've had a number of guys contribute there. Linebacker-wise, Mike Hull's played. At the end of the game last week, we were able to get Yancich and Klein in there, and those guys went in there and played hard. And then the secondary, we just don't have a lot of numbers there. So, but we've played. A number of guys there. So yeah, I do think it's definitely helped our depth to have guys in. I mean, most of these guys are on full scholarship, and that's their role, to step up and play when we ask them to play.
Mark Wogenrich in Allentown.
And Bill, how do you expect the atmosphere playing a road game at Nebraska to differ than the other 3 Big Ten road games you played?
Well, I would expect that this atmosphere will be very loud, very intense. From what I hear, I've never been to Nebraska, but from what I hear, they have very respectful fans. They're loud, they cheer for their team, and they appreciate an opponent that plays hard and plays clean. And so we're really looking forward to it. It's like Nebraska, Penn State. I mean, that's what college football is all about. You have 2 big-time college football programs that have 2 good coaching staffs and good players, and playing in a great game day atmosphere in Lincoln. Hopefully it's a lot of fun.
Frank Rodani in New York.
Hi, Bill. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about a couple of your backup defensive tackles in particular, guys behind Jordan Hill, Kyle Boblitz, James Terry. How have they progressed? Have they given you, at this point in the season, kind of what you were expecting, that position?
They sure have. I've been pleased with both those guys. They're guys that don't start, but they play. And when they go in there, they play hard. They do what they're supposed to do. they play their assignment as best that they can, and they're Penn State football players, you know, and they accept their role, and they try to excel in their role, and they've made plays for us this year. And you know, James Terry had a couple big plays in the Purdue game. You know, had a sack down there in the red area. You know, so he's done a good job. And Kyle, when Kyle's gone in there, he's played hard too, and he's a tough guy, and you know, great kid to be around.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia.
Yeah, hi Bill. The Big Ten's going to be announcing its all Big Ten teams in a few weeks. First of all, I wanted to know what your thoughts are about all conference teams, and secondly, given Matt's production in the passing game, do you feel like he deserves consideration as one of the first two all Big Ten teams quarterback?
Joe, I respect the question. You know, I respect you. I just, I'm focused on Nebraska. I'm not really thinking about all conference teams. We're very, very focused on a very good football team in Lincoln, Nebraska, and the University of Nebraska, with a great coaching staff, great players. So after the season, at some point, you know, whatever, I'll read who's on the all-conference team. But right now, we're just focused on the opponent.
Mike Gross in Lancaster.
Hi, Bill. The secondary is a unit that maybe we haven't talked about as much as some of the other position groups in the team, and it seemed like they were pretty big on Saturday. Just talk about their progress, especially since you maybe don't have quite the depth there that you have with some other position groups.
Sure. I believe that they're one of the most improved units on the team. They're very, very well coached by John Butler. I think that anybody that's been to our practices and watches John coach those guys with detail and intensity, and he's a teacher, and you know, he accepts nothing less than their best. So, you know, I think he's done a great job with those guys. And then those guys, you have to give them a lot of credit. You know, Stephon Morse, Adrian Amos, they've done a really good job. Stephon Morse, you know, he was one of the players of the game for us on defense against Purdue. He's really worked hard at his individual technique and done a really good job. Adrian has had a really good year for us. He's a big kid. He's a tough kid, fun guy to coach. And then you look at the safety position with Malcolm Willis and Jake Fagnano and Stephen Obang. I mean, these guys have played well for us. And then you look at some of the role guys that are in that position, like Jesse Della Valle. He's come up big for us in special teams. And then you look at freshmen like Jordan Lucas and Daquan Davis. I mean, these guys have improved every week. So you can't say enough about the players at that position. You know, we have 3 games left. Let's hope they continue to improve. But to this point in the season, they've done everything we've asked them to do.
Donnie Collins in Scranton.
Hi, Bill. Just watching Nebraska play, it appears that their receivers are about as physical and willing as any group of receivers in the conference, you know, when it comes to run blocking. Is that something that stands out to you, and is that a matchup that you think will be an important one this week, given how good your corners have been for the run? Sure.
There's no question that it's a big matchup. Nebraska's got very talented players at every position, and you know, there's going to be times during a game where our secondary players have to make plays in space and get off blocks, and so that will be a big challenge because Nebraska does a nice job with their scheme.
Scott Brown, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, hey Bill, is Zach Swinak shown you enough to become the starting running back, or is that a situation where you'll still have the guys compete during practice and then pick your starter based on practice?
That'll be a competition every week. I think Zach's done a really good job for us for the most part. He's a tough kid. He's big. He breaks tackles. He can catch the ball well. He's smart. So he'll always be in the competition, and but that'll be a competition every week with all those guys, with Billy Belton, Zordich, Derek Day, you know, all those guys. So yeah, that'll be a practice competition every week, and you know, that's really what we try to do at every position. At every position, I mean, you know, is it easy to beat out Matt Stankiewicz at center? No, of course he's probably going to be our center. But you know, he knows every week that you know, he's got to go out there and perform well in practice, and that's the same for every position. He knows Jordan Hill. You know, is he going to be our starting defensive tackle? Probably, but he knows he's got to go out there and practice. And same thing with Hodges and Mowdy and Carson, you name it. If they're a starter, they know they have to go out there and earn it every day on the practice field.
Okay, right at this point, we'll take questions here in the media room. Ask you please raise your hand, bring a microphone to you.
Bill, were Hill and Carter able to do anything so far this week in practice?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what, or a lot, or?
Oh, they've been able to do some things. Yeah.
You were asked a second ago about the running back situation. The message sent to Bill Belton, how important do you think it is to send that message, to work hard in practice as a first-year coach and first year for the program? Well, what does that tell everybody on the team for you?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's so much a message, Corey, as I would just say that from day one that I arrived here and our staff arrived here, we've talked to our guys about the importance of practice and producing in practice, and everything you get is earned. It's earned on the practice field. And so there's no message being sent that's what we do. You know, there's a reason why you practice. You know, you practice to compete and get ready for games, and life is about competition. So we try to compete every day, and then we try to be as fair as we can as coaches and tell the players who are starting or who are going to play important roles why they're playing, and then the other guys need to step it up and try to tell them why. So, you know, those are conversations between myself and those players, but that's really the deal with us always will be at Penn State, that we're going to practice hard and reward players that practice the right way.
Bill, how aware are you of the history of Nebraska's walk-on program, and what lessons can you take from their walk-on program to build your own here?
Yeah, there's no question. Nebraska, Wisconsin, Iowa, you know, those places have great traditions of run-on programs, and you know, those guys, they've just done an excellent job, whether it was Coach Bellini or, you know, obviously Tom Osborne or Frank Solich when he was there. I mean, they've done a really good job of making sure that they bring in kids, whether they're scholarship kids or run-on guys that eventually are going to be good players for them. And they've developed them in practice. You know, Nebraska is famous for how they practice, especially back when I started coaching, where they had, you know, there were basically unlimited roster numbers, and so they could practice, almost have two separate practices, you know, where they were developing practice squad type players over here, and then over here they were getting ready to play Oklahoma, you know. So they've really been one of the pioneers for run-on type programs in college football and the history of college football. So sure, I have a lot of respect for what they've done there.